Richie here with Statifying Football. This is Week 4 college football. These are the prime time games starting at 7:30. We got Southern Miss Golden Eagles and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Southern Miss, they lost 21-9 in that game. Ty Keys, 157 passing, 2 interceptions. They had -1 rushing yards and 156 total yards. Defensively, they played pretty well. They had 4 sacks, 2 turnovers, and had a fumble return for a touchdown that kept them in the game late. Bama had a really close win against Florida, 31-29. They were up 21-3 after the first quarter and let Florida come almost all the way back. Bryce Young, he's still up there for Heisman. He passed for 240 and 3 touchdowns. They did have 11 penalties. Alabama doesn't look like all world beaters like they did have the last few years, but they should be able to get by Southern Miss. Big game in the Big 12. West Virginia and Oklahoma. West Virginia beat a good Virginia Tech team 27-21. Jarrett Doege, 193 passing, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Lady Brown, one of the more underrated running backs in the country. He ran for 161 yards and 1 touchdown. Defensively, they had 6 sacks with Jared Bartlett getting 3 of them. Oklahoma, they had a nail-biting win against Nebraska 23-16. Spencer Rattler, 214 passing, 1 touchdown plus 1 rushing. Defensively, they had 5 sacks and had a blocked PAT return for 2. I think this will be closer than people expect, but I think Oklahoma will bounce back a little bit more and beat West Virginia. But I'm going to put them on upset alert, and I do think this will be a pretty close game. Akron and Ohio State. Akron, they beat 1AA Bryant 35-14. DJ Irons, he's been playing pretty well this year. He's very efficient. He was 19 of 23 for 296, 3 touchdowns. Plus, he ran for 136 yards and a touchdown. They had 514 total yards in that game. Ohio State they beat Tulsa 41-20, but they did not look good. It was only 27-20 about halfway through the fourth quarter. CJ Stroud, 185 passing, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Travion Henderson is a name you need to keep an eye on. As a freshman, he broke Archie Griffin's freshman record at Ohio State for rushing yards in a game. Ran for 277 yards and had 3 rushing touchdowns. Defensively, they actually allowed 501 yards, but Akron's offense is not that formidable, so I think Ohio State should be able to win have a decent blowout here. All right, North Carolina and Georgia Tech. North Carolina, fun game against Virginia. They won 59-39. Sam Howell, 307 passing, 5 touchdown passes, and ran for 112 yards. Ty Chandler ran for 198 and 2 touchdowns. Josh Downs, 8 catches, 203 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. They had 699 yards of offense. They gave up 577. Shouldn't be too bad against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's offense is not very good. However, Georgia Tech did they almost beat Clemson. They lost 14-8. Jordan Yates passed for 283 there. They only allowed 284 total yards to Clemson. But like I said earlier in my other video, Clemson does not look good this year, and I think North Carolina should win pretty big. All right, kind of an interesting non-conference game. Florida Atlantic Owls and the Air Force Falcons. FAU, they beat Fordham 45-14. N'Kosi Perry, 278 passing, 2 touchdowns, plus 1 rushing. LeJontay Wester, 10 catches, 101, and 1 touchdown. They put up 547 yards of offense, but they turned over 3 times. They cannot do that against a very potent Air Force team. They did have a pick 6 defensively. Air Force lost in a shootout to Utah State 49-45, which is weird because Air Force, they have a triple option, but it was humming. They put up 619 yards of offense there and over 400 rushing yards. Hazik Dames, the quarterback, 182 passing, 1 touchdown, plus 102 rushing and a touchdown. Emmanuel Michael, 133 rushing and 2 touchdowns. And Brad Roberts, 113 rushing in that game. They had 3 100-yard rushers and had a 100-yard passer, receiver, and Micah Davis, 4 catches, 110, and a touchdown. This could be another shootout game, but I'm going to say Air Force is going to be a little bit too much on the ground for Florida Atlantic to handle, and I'm going to go Air Force with the victory there. All right, UAB and Tulane. UAB destroyed North Texas 40-6. Dylan Hopkins was 6 of 7 for 202 yards and 3 touchdown passes. Garrett Prince, 3 catches, 136, and 2 touchdowns. Tulane, they got destroyed by a really good Ole Miss team. I think Ole Miss will beat Alabama in a couple of weeks, but check that out later. But Tulane lost 61-21. Michael Pratt, 166 passing, 2 touchdowns, and 37 rushing. They gave up 707 yards of offense. This will be kind of an interesting game, I think, because Tulane is a pretty decent offense. UAB is a really good defense. They shut down North Texas, which is a high-flying offense there. I think this will be it'll be a close game, but I'm going to say Tulane's defense is not that bad. Ole Miss's offense is incredible. Tulane's defense is not bad. UAB's offense is normally not. Dylan Hopkins had a great game, but normally they're kind of mediocre at best on offense. So I'm going to go Tulane winning that one. At the Indiana Hoosiers and the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, Indiana was up against Cincinnati and then lost 38-24. Michael Penix, 224 passing, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I think he got hurt. We'll see if he plays. DJ Matthews, 5 catches, 120 yards. He turned it over 4 times. He can't do that against a really high-powered Western Kentucky offense. They're coming off a bye. A couple of weeks ago, they lost in a shootout to Army, 38-35. Bailey Zappi, 435 passing and 3 touchdowns, plus 1 rushing. Jareth Stearns, 9 catches, 171, 2 touchdowns. If Penix plays, I think Indiana should win, but I'm going to go Western Kentucky here. I think Indiana's kind of down this year, and I think people are overlooking Western Kentucky. Troy and ULM. Troy Trojans beat Southern Miss 21-9. Taylor Powell, 255 passing and 2 touchdowns. Tez Johnson, 10 catches, 106 yards. They had 9 sacks defensively, with Javon Solomon getting 3.5 sacks all by himself. ULM, they eked out a victory against 1AA Jackson State, 12-7. Red Rodriguez passed for 150. I shouted out their kicker, Callum Sutherland, but he did miss 2 field goals. He was 4 of 6. They did force 3 turnovers. I think Troy should be able to beat ULM pretty easily. Hawaii, New Mexico State. New Mexico lost a very sloppy game against San Jose State by both teams. They lost 17-13. Chevin Cordero, 18 of 39, 242 passing, plus 39 rushing. New Mexico State, for them, it was a win against a 1AA South Carolina State team. They beat them 43-35. Gino Maldonado, 321 passing and 3 touchdowns. They forced 3 turnovers. I'm not going to put it past New Mexico State keeping this one pretty close. It could be a shootout here, but I think Hawaii will have a little bit too much in the end. All right, New Mexico and UTEP. New Mexico Lobos lost to A&M, Texas A&M, 34-0. Terry Wilson was terrible, 10 of 23, 33 yards and a pick. They only had 122 total yards. UTEP had a bye a couple of weeks ago. They lost to Boise State 54-13. Gavin Hardison, 223 passing and 1 touchdown. He did throw 3 interceptions. He can't do that against in this game. Jacob Cowling, 6 catches, 112 and a touchdown. They had 6 turnovers in that game. Both of these teams are kind of very much mediocre. I'm kind of leaning to, if Terry Wilson can play pretty well, I think New Mexico might be able to win, but this could be a pretty close game. But I'll go with the New Mexico Lobos. We're going to the Pac-12, the Cal Golden Bears and the Washington Huskies. Cal, they beat Sacramento State 42-30. Chase Garbers, 288 passing, 2 touchdowns, plus 68 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. They had 534 total yards. They had a kick return for a touchdown in that game. Washington's defense looked great against Arkansas State. They won 52-3. Dylan Moore's 367 passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's got to clean that up against Cal. Jalen McMillan, 10 catches, 175 and a touchdown. They had 598 yards of offense. They turned over 3 times. It probably should have cost them against Arkansas State, and it almost will definitely cost them against Cal. Defensively, though, they did force 3 turnovers and had a fumble return for a touchdown. This will be kind of a pretty close game, maybe 30-27, but I'm going to go with Washington getting a close victory. All right, the USF Bulls and the BYU Cougars. USF, they got a win against Florida A&M. They looked fine, 38-17. Timmy McClain, 163 passing, 1 touchdown, plus 51 rushing. Brian Batty ran for 110. BYU, they're surprising me this year. I thought they would suck. Their first 3 games against Pac-12 teams, they won them all. They beat a really good Arizona State team this week, 27-17. Jaron Hall, 214 passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, plus 38 rushing yards. They forced 4 turnovers. USF looked okay last week against Florida A&M, but BYU is much better than I thought. I'm going to go with BYU. Maybe slight upset alert, but I'm going to go with BYU in victory here. All right, Arizona and Oregon. Arizona is terrible. They lost to 1AA Northern Arizona 21-19. Will Plummer 191 passing, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. They had 3 turnovers. They forced 3 turnovers. They can't turn over that much against Oregon, or Oregon will destroy them, which I think they will anyway. Oregon beat Stony Brook 48-7. Anthony Brown 159 passing, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Ty Thompson came in, had 82 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. They forced 4 turnovers. I don't think this will be close. I think Oregon destroys Arizona. All right, Oregon State and USC, possibly high-scoring game at the end of the night. Oregon State won 42-0 against Idaho. Chase Nolan 175 passing, 3 touchdowns. Only allowed 192 in there. USC, they fired their head coach and destroyed Washington State 45-14. Keaton Slovis was hurt. We'll see if he plays. Jackson Dart came in and was throwing darts. 391 passing, 4 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Drake London, 13 catches, 170 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They did turn over 3 times, but they forced 4 turnovers and had a fumble return for a touchdown. I think USC's offense, whoever's in there, they'll be able to put up points. I do think Oregon State should be able to keep close with them, at least for a while. But I'm going to say USC pulls away in the end. And the final game of the night, Colorado and Arizona State. Colorado, I don't know what happened. They didn't show up against Minnesota. They lost 30-0, had 63 total yards and 2 turnovers. Arizona State, they lost to BYU 27-17. Jaden Daniels, 265 passing. He did throw 2 interceptions. They turned it over 4 times in that game. I think they clean all that up and should be able to beat Colorado. So those are my picks for the primetime games for Week 4 of college football. Check out all my other videos too. Peace.